Hello, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Fidel. In this video, I would like to go over how to discover the awareness that you are. Now, many of my other videos are trying to intellectually explain how we're not separate from the universe, but what this is more of an experience. So to find yourself as the awareness is nothing to do about an intellectual understanding. It is the experience of being awareness. And what this awareness is also known as like spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment, all terms to describe something, to find out who you are behind your thinking mind. Because once you know that you're not your mind, then you've woken up. That's what it kind of means. There's nothing special about that. It's just that you woke up from, I'm not the thoughts, like my name, my religion, all these things. That has nothing to do with me. What that is just acquired knowledge over my lifetime. Who I am is this intrinsic existence that's always there regardless of what it is that I'm thinking. So in this video, it's kind of like, how do I discover that part of myself that is the awareness of, the witness of the thought, the witness of the sensations within the body. And this has zero to do about intellectual knowledge. It's really so simple that a child, in fact, all of us, we already had it and we just lost it because we all became deep thinkers over our lifetime. So eventually we thought that we're our thoughts and forgetting about, who we are. That has nothing to do with thinking. So in order to find this part, which is just nothing more than the sensory awareness that you are. In other words, all that's required here when we sit is to watch, to be observant, whether they be the sensations within your body or the visions that you're seeing or what you're hearing in the room, or even listening to your thoughts without believing those thoughts or that voice in your head to be who you are. That's the practice of finding yourself as the awareness, because even if you don't think, you still exist, and that's who you are. In fact, even, in a worst case scenario, before we start this exercise, if I lobotomize someone, myself included or whatever, they don't disappear. They don't think anymore. That's the whole point, is to kind of shut off their thinking, but yet, of course, they still exist, and it's their senses that are still intact, making them aware of who they are, with the bad side effect of not being able to think anymore. So it's kind of like the same thing. We all have this intrinsic existential awareness, and that's who we are regardless of what we're thinking. So to find that is to be the witness of every sensation, every thought, without believing yourself to be that thought. So we can sit here right now for maybe a period of 2 minutes, and all you have to do is just be aware of what is happening now at all times while you sit there. Like, feel that existence that you are, and watch those thoughts without believing them to be true. So let's see if we can sit here for 2 minutes and do that. Okay, so there you have it. So that is who you are. The funny thing is, so what's the purpose of even knowing something like this, which is not really anything to know? Well, the purpose is kind of when our minds create suffering, which many times it does, and I'm not to be excluded in this time in this whole thing, is that a lot of times I'll get completely identified with my thinking mind. It still happens. And once I realize that I know that I'm believing those thoughts so much that that it's that awareness of oh, I've fallen into the trap of my thoughts. Like I'm so identified in believing that voice in the head, and then when I become aware of that, then I can kind of go back into this state of being and then kind of recollect myself and know myself to be not that thought, but rather that's listening to the thought. And that's like the whole, I think that's like the main purpose of having this understanding, really, is to have just a general awareness of these times in our lives when we do get carried away with that voice in our head, and then to say to ourselves, wait a minute, let me go back into the being of who I am, which is just has nothing to do with thinking. It is who you are, regardless of anything that has to do with thought. Because I think over the 2-minute period, maybe you were able to just see that you're seeing, there's seeing going on, there's listening going on, there's feelings of sensations within your body that's going on. And of course there might be thinking going on. And even if during the thinking, which I know I certainly do, I'll sit here and I'll hear a voice in my head saying, well, this is stupid, this is pointless. So if I believe that voice to be who I am, then I'm back into ego, and there could be suffering there. Because as soon as I say this is stupid, that has to do with the conditioning that, I was brought up like meditation is like a waste of time. So immediately the conditioning of the mind comes in, and if it's not like something that I was brought up with, there'll be a voice within my mind saying like, stop wasting your time, do something productive, all these things that kind of I was conditioned to do. So to know yourself in this way, which is always available to you at every moment of your life, because who you are is this moment of life itself. It has nothing to do with anything that you've done even before in your life, because now that's only within the realm of thought. In other words, if you want to bring up the past, you do it now within the realm of thought. I mean, think about a past event. You can't go anywhere. You can't get to the past. You could only bring it up as a vision in your mind, as a thought. The same thing with the future. There's no way to get to the future. You could bring up a visual thought of something, but you're doing it in this present moment, so you're not going to the future, you're not going anywhere. Everything that's happening is happening in this present moment. So, in summary, who you are truly has nothing to do with thought, nothing. And that's why this can't be intellectually understood. This whole non-duality thing is really just pointers to bring you to this intrinsic existence of who you are, regardless of what you're thinking. There's no intellect required for this. There's no anything. And there's no state to reach. That's the thing, is like, don't look for an awakening or enlightenment or any real change in your life, because it's nothing to be, that's nothing to be found. What you're finding is who you are behind thought. That's what you're finding. And then once you realize that, then you know this other part of yourself that has nothing to do with thinking. And if the mind thinks that it achieved something like an enlightenment, which is nothing more than a concept or spiritual awakening, then if you're believing those thoughts, then the moment's still going on, and you'll be entrapped in this thing. I finally see it, I've achieved it, I know what this is. And you're believing that thought. So again, you're identifying with achieving something, which is, what the ego is all about. It's like, I'm achieving something, where there's nothing that you need to do to achieve it. It's just to realize that you're not that voice in your head. You are the awareness of that voice. You are the awareness of the sensations in your body. You're the awareness of the vision. You're the awareness of the sounds. And you are not a you separate from this present moment. That this present moment is always where life occurs. And the whole thing with non-duality means not separate from, meaning that your existence or any other existence within this whole existence or universe or whatever you want to call it, it's all just one woven fabric of an existence. And this field of awareness is always who you are, regardless of who you may think yourself to be.